trying to start fights. You trying to start fights. I love it. He gonna give me this and he gonna jump out. You are bad, Brother Brian. You are terrible, sir. But I love it. Listen, okay, here you come. He coming right back. All right. So let me see. Let me right click and open this and let me see. Right click, because I want to try to bring this up big. Okay, open up image in a new tab.
I mean,
Okay.
ignore the pictures. I mean, it was more than. I mean, it don't matter about the pictures. It's what happened in the writing. That's what you need to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that, bro. See, that's why they want to keep y'all from looking at this, because they want you to focus on, see, you know, they trying to whitewash stuff. No. Who cares about the picture? Okay, here we go. All right, that's big. That's nice and big. Okay, now, family, take a look at your screen. Praise God, Brother Brian. You want to help us break this down, because you know Sister Cherry done got I'll read the first one. Matthew was a former tax collector turned evangelist. He suffered martyrdom in Ethiopia and was killed by a halberd, combined spear, and a battle axe. What are you doing in Ethiopia? He's supposed to be in Jerusalem.
Yep. Well, check this out. Simon the Zealot. Death surrounded is uncertain, yet early accounts record that he was either crucified in the kingdom of Iberia, Samaria, or Persia. Iberia would be Spain.
Wow. What is he doing in Spain?
Yep. And Peter was crucified upside down, apparently. It was because he told his tormentors that he was unworthy to die in the same way Jesus Christ had died. It don't say where he was died, but with the Eusebius said it was Rome. All right, then we get over here to Philip. Like I say, ignore the pictures. I mean, this is just art from the 1600s. Philip was believed to be martyred in the ancient Greece city of Hierapolis, where he was impaled by an iron hook and hanged upside down to die. And 2011, his tomb was officially found.
Whoa! What?
Yep. John was boiled in oil, but miraculously delivered from death. He died peacefully while living in exile in Patmos, where he wrote the book of Revelations. So Patmos, that's an island off the coast of Greece. Yeah. All right, James the Just, the leader of the church in Jerusalem, was thrown off the temple wall when he refused to deny his faith. Having survived his enemies, killed him with a club.
Wow.
Now he was in Jerusalem. They threw him off the temple.
Right.
So it was the Jews that killed him.
Still there. Yep.
Yep. Judas Thaddeus was martyred in Persia on his missionary journey, where he hewed with an axe by religious leaders. So he was the Magi, which he was actually in Persia. Our Andrew was crucified in Greece after being whipped severely. They tied his body to a cross. He continued to preach his tormentors for 2 days until he expired. Oof. James the Great was otherwise known as the Sons of Thunder. He evangelized Spain and is a patron saint of that nation. He was beheaded by Herod.
Wow.
Bartholomew, also known as Nathaniel, was a missionary to Asia, present-day Turkey. He was martyred in Armenia, where he flogged to death by a whip. Wow. Thomas of Doubting Thomas fame was stabbed with a spear in India during one of his missions trips, where he established the church, the subcontinent. Matthias was chosen to be replaced by Judas Iscariot, Matches worked among the cannibals. Records of his death vary. Some record strong beheading and crucifixion.
So
Yeah.
so wait.
Yep. These are the sites.
So wait a minute. Why they no problem. I'll ask Brother Brian. Brother Brian, they wanted to know what's the link to this particular article here. I'll tell you this, Brother Dunamis, I'll show you something better. Let me help you out here real quick. All right. Let me help you out.
That's some good stuff.
Yeah, watch this, Dunamis. All right, Fox and Martyrs.
Hey, I got that book. Let me pull that thing up. I'll pull it up on mine.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Hey, last time we did this, we got shut down by the Hebrew Israelites when we had to bring this out.
What they don't want you to see. This is what they scared of you to see. This is why they detour y'all away from early church history. So guess what? Dunamis, you can pull it up online for free, right? Now this is Ellen G. White. I don't want her because she's a heretic. She changes stuff. Okay, I think this one here. Right. Okay, right here. Right, Fox and Martyrs. And you can just pull it up. Let me see. Let's go to right here. Right here. It gives you Stephen.
I'm James the Great. Scary, so if it's a weird name, pay no attention. I don't know what's on it.
Yeah, no problem. I'll let it in. Hold on, let's see if I can find a better one. Yeah. Let's see. I want to. Okay. Right here. Right. Don't go to the Ellen G. White one because she's a heretic. But right here. Right. I'm just showing you can pull this up online for free. This is what they don't want you to see. Right. And it goes through all of them that have been martyred. Right? Stephen, Matthew, Philip, James the Less, Matthias, Andrew, Mark, Peter, Paul, Jude, Bartholomew, Thomas, Luke, Simon, John, Barnabas, right? Barabbas, I'm sorry. That's just the preface, right? The first persecution under Nero, 67 AD. So here's the thing. These are people who are martyred for the faith of Jesus Christ. Shouldn't they be on their way over to what? To the West Point of Africa? I'm sorry, I gotta put it this way, Dunamis. What the hell are they doing over here? And died over here too. Brother Brian, get this before I lose my mind. Get this, Brother Brian.
This is basically the same thing. This is the Fox Book of Martyrs, but let me.
Oh, you want to show?
Yeah, let me bring this one up. Maybe I think it's the same, but I got this one. I wanted to make sure I had this one on purpose because I think people need to read this stuff, and there's a couple books. This one and where is that?
He said, okay, he said, yeah, it seems so. I read certain articles with his claims, but the timelines and narratives still don't make sense. Listen, you know why it don't make sense? Because they got you looking in the wrong direction. You need to find out, where's the Christians at? Where did Paul go?
No.
Why they not in Jerusalem? That's where you need to go. Go ahead.
Here's Matthew right here. Little is known about the Apostle Matthew's later life, but it led you to go Ethiopia. Notice Ethiopia, where he became associated with Candace, Acts 8:27. Some write and say that he was pinned into the ground and beheaded on Halber in the city of Nadiah, Ethiopia, circa 60 AD. Then, of course, we know James died off the roof in Jerusalem. The exact time of this matter of death is not certain, although it's believed to be about 66 AD. According to Flavius Josephus, the Jewish historian, the high priest of Ananias ordered James to be killed by stoning. But Hegelius, an early Christian writer, quoted by the 3rd century Christian historian Eusebius, says James was cast down from the temple tower. The version of the death further states that he was not killed by the fall, and so he was beheaded, smashed into a fuller's club, which had been the club used to beaten, clothing, or hammered, used by blacksmiths.
Wow.
Matthew, right here, elected to fill vacant. Matthias was a Judas spot. Also, nothing is known about him. It says he was stoned at Jerusalem and then beheaded. Andrew was the brother of Peter. Tradition says he preached the gospel to many Asiatic nations, and he was martyred in Ezda by being crucified with an X-shaped cross, which came to be known as St. Andrew's cross. Little is known about Mark, except is written in the New Testament about him. After Paul's mention of him in 2 Timothy 4:11, he disappears from the view. Tradition says he was dragged to pieces by the people of Alexander when he spoke out against Solomon's ceremony for their idol Serapis. Yep. Isn't that the one they claim that Christians follow?
Yep.
So he's being killed by the people that follow? What? That makes no sense. Peter, the only account we have of martyrdom as Apostle Peter is from the early writer, Hegesippus. His account includes a miraculous appearance by Christ. When Peter was old, Nero planned to put him to death. When the disciples heard of this, they begged Peter to flee the city, said to be Rome, which he did. But when he got to the city gate, he saw Christ walking towards him. Peter fell to his knees and says, "Lord, where are you going?" Christ answered, "I have been come to be crucified again." By this, Peter understood that this was the time to suffer the death of Jesus, which would glorify God. John 21:19. Remember, that was prophesied. Jesus said that would happen to Peter. So he went back to the city after being captured and taken to the place of martyrdom. He requested that he was crucified upside down position because he did not consider himself worthy to be crucified in the same position as his Lord. Paul, the Apostle Paul, was imprisoned in Rome in 61 AD, and there he wrote his epistles, Ephesians, Philippians, and Colossians. His imprisonment ended approximately 3 years later during the time the Rome burned, which was in May AD 64, Acts 28. During his brief freedom, Paul may have been visiting Western and Eastern Europe and Asia Minor. He also wrote his first epistles to Timothy and the epistle to Titus. At first, Nero's blame setting the fire to Rome. So to direct blame away from himself, he blamed the Christians. As a result, a fierce persecution broke out against them. During it, Paul was arrested and put back into prison in Rome. While in prison for the second time, he wrote the second letter to Timothy. It was his last. Not long after that, he was judged guilty of crimes against the emperor and condemned to death. He was taken to the execution block and beheaded. It was AD 66, just 4 years before Jerusalem fell.
Whoa. Now, hold on before you continue. Now, hold on. Now, these are Jews, right?
Yep.
Dunamis? So wait a minute. Why they didn't go to, are they fitting the curses? Because shouldn't they be taken into captivity? Come on, Brother Brian, keep going.
Look at this. Sister Sherry, look at Jude. The brother of James, he was crucified at Edessa, an ancient city of Mesopotamia, about 72 AD.
Wow. Wow.
Shouldn't
he be on his way to West Point of Africa?
Yep. Tradition says he preached in several countries, then translated the Gospel of Matthew into the language of the East Indian. and taught it in that country. His pagan enemies cruelly beat and crucified him.
Wow.
Thomas preached the gospel in Persia, Bartholomew, India, and Calamita, India. He was tortured by angry pagans, run through with spears, and thrown into the flames of an oven.
Wow.
Luke was a Gentile, possibly Greek. It is not known to when or how he was converted. He was a physician in Troas and probably converted there by Paul, especially since it was the Taurus that he attached himself to Paul's party and started traveling with them. Notice in Acts 16, 8 through 10, that it was at Troas that Luke switches from they to we in the text. Whoa, I didn't know that. And they, by passing by Mysia, came down to Troas, and a vision appeared to Paul in the night. There stood a man in Macedonia and prayed him, saying, "Come over to Macedonia and help us." And after that, he had seen the vision. Immediately, we endured to go into Macedonia, surely gathered that the Lord had called us to preach the gospel unto thee. Oh my God. I've never seen this. Luke went to Paul to Philippi, was not in prison with him, and did not travel with him after his release. He apparently made Philippi his home and stayed there for some time. It is not until Paul's visit to Philippi, Acts 25:6, about 7 years later, that we meet again with Luke. From this time, he again traveled with Paul and stayed with him during his journey in Jerusalem, Acts 26, 21, and 18, but he disappears once more during the imprisonment at Jerusalem and Caesarea, and only shows up again when Paul starts for Rome, Acts 21, 7:1. He then stayed with Paul through his first imprisonment, Philemon 1:24, Colossians 4:14. Many Bible scholars believe that Luke wrote his Gospels and Acts while in Rome with Paul during this time. During Paul's second imprisonment, Luke apparently stayed nearby or with Paul, because just before his martyrdom, Paul wrote to Timothy. It says, "Only if Luke is with me." 2 Timothy 4:11. After Paul's death, Luke apparently continues to evangelize as he had learned to do with Paul. Exactly when and how he died is unknown. One ancient source states that he served the Lord without distraction, having neither wife nor children, and at the age of 84, he fell asleep in Boeotia, a place unknown, full of the Holy Spirit. Another early source says that he went to Greece to evangelize, and there was martyred by being hung from an olive tree in Athens in 93 AD.
Wow.
John, the Apostle John, brother James, is created with founding the seven churches in Revelation: Smyrna, Pergamos, Sardis, Philadelphia, Laodicea, Thyatira, and Ephesus. So it was John that founded this church in Ephesus, not Paul. You know how they try to use Paul and say Paul was a false prophet. Because of Ephesus right here. So it was James, it was the John's church that he founded in Ephesus. It was from Ephesus, and it says that he was arrested and sent to Rome, where he was cast into a large vessel filled with oil that did not harm him. As a result, he was released and banished by the emperor Domitian to the Isle of Patmos, where he wrote the book of Revelation. After being released in Patmos, he returned to Ephesus, where he died at 98 AD. He was the only possible to escape violent death. Even with all the continual persecution, violent deaths, the Lord added to the church daily. The church was now deeply rooted in the doctrine of the apostles and watered abundantly with the blood of the saints. She was prepared for the cruel persecution that were to come. They do not want to talk about this.
They don't want to talk about this. And here's the thing. Does any of those deaths, Brother Brian, fit Deuteronomy 28?
No, but it does fit what Jesus says. You'll be persecuted for my name's sake.
I ain't talking about, I know what Jesus said. I know what Jesus said.
No,
but I'm talking about, I'm going back to
none of
Deuteronomy
this has
28.
anything to do with Deuteronomy 28.
Thank you. Thank you. And let me ask you a question. Does Jesus quote Deuteronomy 28 at any time?
Nope.
No. No. So your question should be to them after you do your thorough church history. You need to look back at those crazies and ask them, what the hell are you talking about? That's why they don't want you to read this. That's why they don't want you to read this. That's why they don't want you to read this, because them Christians are going out spreading the gospel while they got everybody floating over to the west point of Africa. So they say. Oh, and don't worry, we got Jewish history too that proves against that. Listen, I just gave you three of the battles after the 70 AD thing kicked off. So wait a minute, we still got Jews in the land? Okay. All right there now. Go ahead, Brother Brian. Kill it some more. Go ahead,
Yeah,
kill it some more.
this might be a little rough on some people, but here's Nero right here. Nero was ordered Rome to be burned and then blamed it on Christians to deter the wrath of Rome's citizens away from themselves. Others say that he was not in Rome when it burned. Whichever way it was, Christians were blamed for the fire that lasted 9 days, and during which the hunt for Christians increased and became a dreadful persecution that lasted for the rest of Nero's reign. The barbarous act against the Christians were worse than any they had ever previously endured, especially those committed by Nero. Only a Satan-inspired imagination could have conceived them. Some Christians were sewn inside skins of wild animals and torn by fierce dogs. Shirts stiff with wax were put on others, and they were tied to poles in Nero's garden and set on fire to provide light for his parties. Wow. This cruel persecution spread throughout the Roman Empire, but it only succeeded in strengthening the spirit of Christianity. Rather than killing it, along with Paul, Peter, and several other 70 appointed Jesus, Luke 10, were martyred. Also among them were Erastus, treasurer of Corinth, Romans 6:23, Erastus, the Macedonian, Acts 19, Trophimus, the Ephesians, Acts 21, Barabbas, who was surnamed Justus, Acts 1:3, and Ananias, bishop of Damascus, whom the Lord sent to Saul, Acts 9:10. Second persecution under Emperor Domitian. All these people died during the first, Nero. Domitian was a cruel person who killed his own brother. Oof.
To take the throne.
Second persecution against Christians and his hatred, Domitian issued an order that no Christian once brought before the tribunal should be exempted from punishment without renouncing his religion. Numerous lies were made up during this time to harm Christians. Some so outrageous that only unthinking hate would believe them, such as the Christians were responsible for. Now listen to this: famine, epidemic, or earthquake afflicted any part of the Roman Empire. Money was offered to those who would testify against the Christians. Many innocent people were slaughtered for financial gain. When Christians were brought for Domitian's council, they were told that if they swore an oath of allegiance to him, they would be set free. Those who refused to take an oath were killed.
So wait a minute. Hold on. So wait a minute. I thought this was a black and white thing.
Nope.
But I thought that God is bringing all of this travesty because of a people, the Israel. Stop it, man. Y'all just.
Yep. The martyr during his time, with whom we are most familiar with, Timothy, who was celebrated disciple of the Apostle Paul, overseer of the church in Ephesus until 97 AD. In that year, the Ephesian pagans were celebrating a feast of the Katagoan. When Timothy saw their pagan practice, he blocked their way and severely rebuked them for their idolatry. His holy boldness angered the pagans, and they attacked him with clubs and beat him so badly that he died of his injuries in 2 days. In the third persecution, Pliny, known as the Younger, a Roman consul and writer, took pity on the persecuted Christians and wrote to Trajan, assuring him that there were many of them put to death daily who had not done anything contrary to Roman laws. In this letter, he said, the whole account that I gave of their crime or error, whichever it is to be called, amounted only to this, namely, and they were accustomed on the stated day to meet before daylight, and on repeated together a set form of prayer to Christ as a God, and because he's Roman, so he understood that they as a God, because that's the way they viewed Jesus, just a God, and bind themselves by obligation, not indeed to commit wickedness, but only contrary, never to commit theft, robbery, adultery, never to falsify their word, never to defraud any man. After which it was their custom to take separate and reasonable to partake in the common of a harmless meal. The degree to which Pliny's letter lessened the persecution, if at all, it is not recorded. So he wrote this letter trying to get them to stop killing these Christians. They were doing nothing wrong. They didn't break any law, but they were being persecuted.
So how, because maybe it's me. So how are these Hebrew Israelites attaching themselves to the Jews in Jerusalem that were unbelieving? And the Christians are out here spreading the gospel and being martyred for spreading the gospel, not pagan worship. They have done nothing wrong. We got apologetics being written to governors, to against heretics, and all over the place to write against the persecution that Christians are facing. And mind you, it was illegal to be a Christian. It was illegal to worship as a Christian. It didn't become legal until 313, when Constantine passed the Edict of Milan. Work that out. Work that out. And wait a minute, why do we have an Edict of Milan, which you can definitely pull up? And that's before the Council of Nicaea, by the way. Why do we got an Edict of Milan if the real Christians, quote unquote, is over there in the West Point of Africa? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Yeah, Brother Brian. I dread at stupidity. I do. Not saying because y'all asking questions in the chat. No. But again, they're feeding you this garbage. And they don't want you to touch this part. Why? And we got documentation. You can easily pull up the Edict of Milan right online. We're in the Fox Book of Martyrs, which you can easily pull up right online, right? You got the Church Fathers' writings, which you can easily pull up right online. Where did it come from? Don't say no Roman Catholic Church, because Roman Catholic Church, Rome is persecuting the Christians. St. Ignatius is what the late 90s, 117 AD. Let's not forget Petra and Felicity, who is from Carthage, Africa, by the way. We got their writings too, right? 2 women, right? Let's not forget Tertullian, right? Let's not forget Papias. Let's not forget Polycarp. Where they come from. If they are part of this quote unquote curse, they should be over there in the West Point of Africa, but they're not over there. Make it make sense. They died for the faith of Jesus Christ. Exactly. Not for their bloodline. Thank you. Thank you. So this right here, all of this that Brother Brian is showing you right now, where does come from? They got you looking the wrong doggone direction. And they got you trying to link up with the wrong doggone quote unquote Jews. If you're going to link up with the Jews, you might want to get the right Jews, the Jews that believed on Jesus. Listen, Brother Garfield made a very clear, good point. Listen, those rabbinical Jews, they didn't believe on Jesus. They don't even today. They don't. And I know when you heard your little friend, Harry Rosenberg, all you got to do is just pay $1,000. You might get a discount, $500. You can be a convert. And if they ever build the temple, you'll be, you get to get a seat on the lawn outside, 2 pillars away. Right? So you're going to throw away Jesus Christ just to sit outside. Make it make sense.
Yep.
Make it make sense. Ridiculous.
As you see on the screen, this is a lot of people like to talk about Constantine. And I'm going to read what, happened during his time. Before AD 312, Constantine appears to have been a tolerant pagan who was willing to accumulate heavenly protectors to help him, but was not committed to any one god. During the period of 312 to 324, however, he began to adopt the true God and several times granted favors to individual churches, overseers, bishop, after he was defeated in his political rival, Emperor Licinius, as to Christopolis on September 18, 324. Constantine openly confessed Christianity. See, he openly confessed it. Now, whether he was a Christian, who knows? Though a benevolent ruler like his father before him, Constantine ruled with absolute power, oppressive and tyrannical. Although he admitted bishops to his council and his laws concerning the treatment of slaves and prisoners showed the influence of Christian teaching. He had his oldest son, Crispius, and his second wife, Phytacia, put to death. Like many during his time, Constantine's life, his conduct was a mixture of Christianity and paganism. Three important events marked Constantine's reign. He was first Christian emperor of Rome. He made Christianity a lawful religion, and he founded the city of Constantinople. Constantinople began to be the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire and symbol of the Christian Trump. Constantine died on May the 22nd, 327. Prior to his death, he divided the Roman Empire among his 3 remaining sons. When Constantine first became emperor of West, he faced many problems with other claimants to his throne. Maximus had resigned as emperor, and his son Maximus was elected emperor by the army, since Italy was part of the West Empire. He considered himself to be superior emperor and entire Roman Empire. His military rule in Rome continued during the rule of Constantine, the Roman Senate. So he wasn't even over all the Europe. He was just the eastern side.
Right, because that's Diocletian. Diocletian set up that system because the Roman Empire was just too big and it was falling apart. So what Diocletian did was divided it east and west, and then on top of that, to even make it more doable, they appointed, each side had 2 junior Caesars that would be under the Caesar, and so junior Caesars will run certain parts of whichever side. Constantine was one of those junior Caesars until he took his father's place. So that's because it was just too big, and it was causing an economic downfall as they were spreading. So Diocletian set up that system. 2 head Caesars, one over east, one over west, and then they will have 2 junior Caesars under them that will help them basically run the rest of the empire. I mean,
so basically, Constantine was a Christian by name only. He called himself one, but he didn't live the life as a Christian, basically.
Right.
So there was never proof that he was a Christian.
Right. And what he did was, number one, he built churches all over the Roman Empire, but they looked like temples, pagan temples, because that's what they were familiar with. They didn't know, really know like what they should have, all that they should have done. And you got to remember, we got to have, even though you may say ill to it, but you got to have compassion for that particular time. They're doing what they're familiar with, right? So he began to build temples all around, but they were actually churches. And that was the architecture that they were familiar with. You got to remember, this was going on for thousands and thousands of years, and now they're coming into a change. Number two, he enacted the blue laws that took place at the Council of Nicaea. He never changed the Sabbath. He just said, okay, on the Lord's Day, since Christians already were coming together on the Lord's Day, he enacted the blue laws. The blue laws is basically you don't do no work at all, except for agriculture. That's it. The next thing, he restricted pagan worship, even though he was mixing it, because he didn't fully know. And again, he restricted it. You can go and look at his edicts. When the Council of Nicaea ended up happening, you can see what the conversation was. The conversation was never about changing the Sabbath, never about changing the Bible, none of that. He asked for all the bishops to come. And a lot of the bishops didn't come because they didn't trust Constantine. Why? Because of what Brother Brian just read to you, what you're looking at on your screen. All of these Caesars before him were killing Christians. Only 300, they say estimate 350 or 850 bishops showed up to that particular council. And what did they discuss? When the Christians will keep the Pascha, which we will call Resurrection Sunday, which we'll celebrate Jesus Christ's death. The next thing that they discussed was Arianus, who was a heretic, and he was excommunicated. And on top of that, he enacted the blue laws. They never, and the main thing, the deity of Christ, the Christology, they never touched all that other stuff that people put on this conversation. That is a complete lie. When you go and read the documentation, it will literally tell you this. Constantine didn't change any biblical text. He didn't even know what to change. Not to mention, he didn't change no Sabbath. He didn't even talk about that. He was talking about the Lord's Day. And then you got to look at it. Who is he talking to? He ain't dealing with the Jews stuff. He dealing with what y'all Christians gonna do. So to the Hebrew Israelites, I got to say it like this. Constantine is not talking to you. He's talking to actual Christians asking what they're gonna do. So I'm sorry, I got to. What the hell is it your business or what Constantine is talking to Christians about, and you ain't no Christian? He not talking to you. Hello? Right. Ain't nobody caring about none of y'all. Constantine ain't even thinking about y'all. Get out of here. Listen, so then he passes what? The Edict of Milan. And listen, it is also said that Constantine, in order to build these temples, which is really predominantly supposed to be churches, guess where he gets the money from? The Roman treasury. The Roman treasury. Oh, but you Hebrew Israelites, you ain't gonna talk about that. No, you can't talk about what you don't know because you're too stupid to actually go and look at history, right? But then claim and tell everybody, we done did some research. Nobody believes you. You can barely spell your name, right? You can barely spell your name. let alone can you keep up with the conversation. You just out here looking for attention just to get on people's nerves, give people a headache, and you sound stupid when you talk. Then on top of it, like Brother Garfield asked the number one comprised question, which I asked a long time ago, then who are those Jews? What do they believe? And do they hold to Jesus Christ, the ones that is in Jerusalem at 70 AD? And let's remember God's character. Will God punish the righteous with the wicked? Will God punish those who believe in Jesus Christ, who don't believe in Jesus Christ? No. Abraham asked this long time ago, Genesis 18. And am I turning my nose down upon you? Absolutely, I am. I am. I solely am. Right? It doesn't take much to humiliate you because the simple fact is you do it well yourself. I really don't have to put any effort in. Just let you talk, right? Just let you talk like Second Exodus, who sound like a complete buffoon, right? When he said what he said at the Council of Nicaea, he said something real stupid. Bahrain couldn't even keep it up. I don't blame him. I don't blame him in a way because like that was just, I think I probably would have took that down if I was talking to Second Exodus and he would have told me that. I probably would have took that down. Like, I don't want people to remember this because you sir, shut up. And you're in seminary school? I don't think so. I don't think so. Like this right here for seminary school, this is like basic 101. You go and tell them this if he really is in seminary school and he go and say the garbage that he said a couple of weeks back ago, they'll throw him out on his face. Right? They'll throw you out right on your face. And I'll say rightfully so. I don't think he in no seminary. I really don't. I think that's a whole conjured up lie, just to be honest with you, but that's just me. But yeah, clearly, so what you're looking at here, like they don't want you to deal with this part of the information, right? And then the Roman Catholic Church, sirs, ma'ams, you have to, you're gonna have to make this work. But you can't get by the early Christian persecution. And the Bible shows the kickoff of the Christian persecution, by the way. So, yeah, kicking it off with who? The Jews. Yeah, because it was the Jews that handed Paul over, right? Acts chapter 26, right? Right? Yeah, who murdered James? Jesus' brother, the Jews. Yep. You got some problems. And then if you want to call the early church fathers pagan, then I guess Paul is a pagan too. There go Clement of Rome right there. Philippians 4:3. Right in your Bible. Y'all want to play this game? Mm-hmm. See, that's why Hebrew Israelites don't really come this way, because they know they're going to get their whole wig split back. Right? And we just go to bed and we sleep well at night knowing what we did. Mm-hmm. And get right back up and do it all over again. Right? You're not stupid enough to challenge nobody over here. You already know what's going to happen to you, right? Right. So you stay far, far away from certain channels because you know what's going to happen. I bet you won't challenge Faithful to God on church history. It eats you alive. Right? I seen it happen years ago. The butt whooping that Hebrew Israelite took, baby, listen. That part. So what Garfield asked here was legit. It was legit, right? But it's something else that you need to see here because it gets worse. It gets worse. Not only the question that he asks and the point he makes, but it gets worse. Listen to this.
To go. Remember, these people are being.
Okay. All right. So Bahrain just took it down. Yep. All right. So Bahrain just took it down. All right. Nice try, Bahrain. Okay. Yeah. He just took it down. All right. Nice try. So, all right. Let me get up off of this. So, let me go ahead and take this down here. Nice try, Bahrain. Nice try. Okay. So the question that the point that Bahrain makes, or not Bahrain, but what's his name? Garfield makes, is that the Sephardic Jews don't even claim them. No. Doesn't even claim them. Right? And I knew he was going to take it down, so I made sure I uploaded it. Nice try, Bahrain. Nice try. Right? Okay. All right. Nice try, Bahrain. Nice try. So while my computer is running the diagnostic, it'll bring it back up. So once it fully runs, I'll show it to you. Hold on, come back here. So he goes in, right? And this is the part that he doesn't want you to see. Right? So I'll come back here while my computer's running the diagnostic, and then I'll run the video. So, and this is why I don't trust Bahrain either, because Bahrain is making money off of this, right? And on top of it, so they at that little feud war, just give it about a good few weeks. They're going to be back buddy again, right? But little do you know, those Sephardic Jews do not accept these people who are trying to say, oh, well, we bloodline Jews. No, they're just converts. That's it. Right? They just converts. Right? And Garfield points this out to them. Right? So the Bahrain was like, oh man. Okay. Right? Why they don't, but my biggest thing, right? Here's the thing, Bahrain taught on this, right? In his earlier part of the chat of his channel, right? He probably gonna rip that down too. He teaches on this, right? Earlier before he started getting into this sham. But then after that, he starts stepping into the foolishness, and then he allows these people to go in to what? Lying, right? Lying on the Christian persecution. Now he called Exodus. He stopped him on that because it was just downright heretical, which I don't blame him. But hold on, he lets them continue on with this here so-called lie, right? He lets them continue on with this foolishness. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself why. Why is that? And we bringing all of this here out. Question that y'all need to be asking Bahrain. Why y'all not talking about the Christian persecution? That's really what I want. The Christians were pagan and they the real Christians and all this other stuff. How is it that they attaching themselves to the wrong folk? See, when you start asking the right questions, right? Folk get upset. That's what I really want. That's what I really want. And of course, here's the thing. You know, Marine is, they done went all out for Israel. He did. And they pissed off with him. But here's the thing. Why does he allow the foolishness to continue? And why does he keep letting them spew so much lies, but tell them at the same time, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, but you entertain it. You entertain it, right? That's because you're making money off of it. You're making money off of it. And just like, I'm going to say it, the Hebrew Israelite movement are not the only vagabonds out here. Berean is a vagabond too. Like Damon Richardson said. That's why I'm going to tell you right now, don't clean up their mess. Right? Don't try to clean up their mess, fam. Don't. Now, the first time we couldn't determine. Right? We couldn't understand. It was like, okay, it is what it is. We weren't sure.